now we're at the time where the Hamashiach is getting ready to come.
And hidden riches of secret places, that thou mayest know that I am the Lord.
Last words, brother.
Shalom, ma.
All right.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
All right.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Everybody's having a holy Shabbat shalom, Yasharel, scattered to the four corners of the earth. Man, it's good to be back with y'all again. Pray that you all are blessed. Pray that you're all in good spirit, ready to listen and ready to learn and ready to spread this word so we can get up on out of here. All right. So the title of the lesson is The Nature for Man to Rule Over Women. Is it toxic masculinity? All right. We're going to be showing you some videos and breaking down some scriptures and showing you some things. But before we do that, let us go ahead and get into our scripture reading. Go ahead, turn to the book of Exodus, chapter 20, and we're going to read verses 8 through 11. All right, brother, take us away, and we'll just read each verse.
All right, all praise to the Most High. Verse number 8, it says, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work.
But the seventh day is the Sabbath day of the Lord, thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy maidservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates.
For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the seventh day and hallowed it." You know, Yasharel, this is one of the greatest holy days because it is above all other days. And this day was initiated before man was even created. All right, this is why you know that this day will last forever. It is a memorial, weekly memorial that is between us and the Most High, that he set between us and his chosen people to be kept only by Israel. So, you know, this is always a special day. You know, he hallowed it, he rested, and he sanctified it. He did three things to it that he did to no other day. Well, all right, Yasharel, we're going to really get into this. We got some headbangers to bring out. The nature for man to rule over women. Is it toxic masculinity? And you know the times that we're living in now, and with everything that's going on, especially here in America, the West, as we should say, because you know, the West has a lot of influence. And if you notice, even in other countries, the West has really highly influenced their women to do the same. But we're going to show you that the Most High never changed. All right. Nothing changes in his word. Everything is still the same. So go to Genesis because I want to bring out a basis. And before I hit that verse, brother Ak, do you have anything that you want to hit on?
Take us away.
All right, so let's go to the book of Genesis. Very simple. We're gonna take it all the way back to the beginning. All right. Of course, this is after Adam sinned, and who was he become? Verse 16. It says, "Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire." What is a desire, y'all? Thy desire shall be to thy what? Husband, and he shall rule over thee. All right. Now, many of our people don't like to hear that word because they think that's such an ugly word. But the whole concept is you got to understand what it really involves. So I'm going to read that last part again. And it says, "In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee." And, you know, the influence of the West and these other countries, and a lot of women feel like they should be treated equally. They should have the desire to be happy. But remember what the scripture says, thy desire is to thy husband. it was never about their happiness. It was never about what they wanted, but it was always to be a helpmate to their husband. All right. The scripture says, he that getteth a good possession, is the world. So you got to understand. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let me just cut in right there because, just so the ladies don't think that it's not just about, they're happy. It's not about the man's happiness either when you look at it, right? When the most when we got kicked out of the garden, it was for man to toil and to work all his life. That was his role, right? It's nothing about man being happy or any of that, right? It's about man obeying the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, right? So you can order to get from this place to the next place, right, and obtain your spiritual body. So it's not about happiness, right? Because especially when we're in the land of our captivities, it's damn sure not about us being happy.
Exactly. I mean, we should be in the time of mourning right now because where people are being oppressed and everything. But we definitely want to set the stage on what the scripture says about this subject, because there's a lot of confusion going on. And again, just because the West is pushing this ideology, feminism, it's like it's giving them a golden card. It's giving our people a golden card. Like, hey, we can do what we want to do. We can change the whole mind structure and all that kind of stuff. When really, it's the heathens that have been pushing this whole thing all this time. All right. Because again, the Most High does not change. His word does not change. We change. We try to compromise and, change the structure of the law when the law does not change for anyone. All right. And like Brother Eitan said, it's not about happiness. It is about pleasing the Most High. But if you please the Most High and you're keeping his laws, you're going to be within that happiness. You're going to be within that peace.
That's right.
But you have to obey. We're not saying that you're going to be walking on earth with your head down and all miserable and all that kind of stuff. But there's an order, Yasharel, that we all have to abide by. Even the angels have an order that they have to abide by. You cannot run a nation without order. Everything, even the atoms, have an order. The way they spin, the nucleus and neutron, and all that in your body and everything. If you overindulge in alcohol, anything that's harmful, guess what? Your body's going to cry out. All right. So there's a balance. There is an order. So if we have within our community, if we have an unbalance of wickedness, guess what? It's going to affect everybody.
We're not talking about the happiness of like wickedness happiness.
Right.
Like somebody could be like there's a difference between spiritual contentment and spiritual happiness versus the happiness that the world has to offer you. Right. And then so we're just making a distinction between the two. Like once you start to daily keep the law, statutes, and commandments, and then come to the knowledge of the truth, and then understand what's going on and obtain knowledge and wisdom behind all of that, you'll gain a spiritual contentment. Right. That's something akin to being happy. But at the same time, you realize the situation that you're in and everything like that. So how can you truly be happy understanding that? Right. So that just comes with the weight of understanding the knowledge of the truth. Right. And then what has happened to our people, and then what the position that we're in. Anyone that actually looks at the position that we're in and understands what the Bible is saying and all this truth that it brings out to us, you're going to understand that, man, you should not be happy. There's no way that you should be happy knowing that you have been cursed by God, right? And then we're the only person that have, and then we're the only race that has a God. We're the only race that has a God, but we've been cursed by our God to be on the bottom of the totem pole, to get beat up, slapped around, and kicked around by the heathen, right? Until he comes back. So, you can't be happy about that, right? So the only thing we can do is try to do exactly like the scriptures say, right? Our forefathers, the disciples, they say what? We have to endure until the end, right? And then so that's what we have to do. We're supposed to be in the land of our captivities, man, looking for, trying to be all super happy and, doing all of this and all of that, right? When we're trying to really get back to the kingdom, right? We're trying to get back to our homeland that we ain't seen in thousands of years.
Right. And and again, exactly what Brother Eitan's saying, it goes to say that because we're living outside of the law, we're doing our own thing, that's going to result to misery. That's going to result to our demise. And this is the reason why we're being oppressed, getting our backs beat in, and we can't get ahead for nothing because we are living outside the law, and we refuse to turn over those idols. So, we're going to bring it out today to you, and you're going to see firsthand, why our people are in this situation. What can we do to reverse it? It can be reversed, but hey, you know what? We got to put the work in, though.
Right. So,
yep.
Our people at, it's not like we've never had common sense, right? Because, there's always been the good of us, but we know that the Most High, he punishes mass punishment, right? You know what I'm saying? So all of us have to be doing right, because if all of us not doing right, the Most High, he will get, he will get all of us.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how the Most High does it, right? Because he looks at all of us as Jacob, because we all came out of one seed line, so it's all the same. You know what I mean? If one part of Jacob ain't doing right, then I got to punish everybody because he didn't get on that part of Jacob and wasn't doing right.
Exactly. Well, look. Exactly. Look how we we're suffering now from the sins of our forefathers. Man, like when you're born into this earth, you didn't have no land. You didn't get passed down nothing.
Right.
Exactly, look, most of us grew up in the projects. You grew up in some rented apartment or something. We didn't have nothing passed down to us. You had to work that stuff from scratch. So that right there is a live testament that the Most High looks at us all as an Israel. He saves us all as a whole unit, not as an individual. And he punishes as a individual. That's why he drove us into captivity as a whole unit.
Right. Yep. So if you look at the design and everything that the Most High has done, right, and you look at designs of Hamashiach and how he's made the world, and you look at the heavenly bodies, and you look at all the the four elders and all of these things, right? Everything serves a purpose that the Most High makes, right? Things aren't equal, right? They're not equal. The Most High has a top angel, right? And who's that? That's Hamashiach, right? He's the very one that the only begotten Son. He has a top angel. He has, there's also a order, right? There's an order of every single thing that there is. Now, let's say for like for men, right? When we grow up as kids, we always have we play games that have order to it. Baseball, football. There's a team captain. This, that, and the third. Just because that's how the Most High have designed men from the beginning. Because you can tell that even when Genesis, when the Lord had brought all the animals, including the woman, to Adam, right, he was able to name every single one of them. Why? Because the Most High had designed Adam with the mind of order, right? He didn't just say, hey, you guys are all this thing. You guys are all equal. I'm gonna call you all animals, and then that's how it is, right? When you look at women and the way they do it, right, they have an egalitarian way of doing things, right? They play dolls where there's no leaders, right? They play all of these other hopscotch, right? There's no winner in hopscotch. Right, everything's all equal. You know what I'm saying? Like pretty much because they can't deal with the order of having to lead stuff because that's not their natural proclivity. Because the Most High did not make them that way, right? So what's going on is with our people now, we are becoming under attack of this sickness because we have these heathens pushing these ideas into our heads, right? And then this is started because even under slavery, right, we were still a tight knit home. Even we were getting our bats beat in, we understood, right, the roles between men and women, and how women shouldn't rule men, and how men, they tried to do this and that, right? This has always been the situation, right, ever since the beginning. But all of a sudden now, right, we're in this technology age where everything has been built for us, right? Men, they built it all now, right? Everything's been built. Well, guess what? Anybody can do whatever they want, and women can get money now, men can get money now, and such, and so forth and so on. Now, but this has also created a delusion, right? And I'm gonna go ahead and show you this delusion and stop yapping on real quick to start this up. Slucking. Right, I just want to play the first part of this, right? Because I want y'all to see that these heathens are the one that started this stuff. I want to see how many views this clip got. 2,000. Okay, so this clip right here, it has 500,000 views, right? So you got to realize, like, this is the stuff that the media is pushing, even when they don't mean to push an idea like this, but this is still the idea that other minds that have been contracted with the sickness, right, they'll go ahead and take this and then believe it as being truth.
The Joe Rogan Experience. There was some lady who was just arguing that there's no biological difference between men and women. I'm gonna send you this, Jamie, because it's so kooky. You're like, come
Doctor
on.
Who?
You can't really think that this is true. This is
No biological difference?
There's no difference between men and women's strength. Pennsylvania state senator said there's no biological advantage for men and women.
I just want to pause there, right? And I want y'all to get the gravity of what he just said. He said a state senator. How did this dingbat get that job? Right? These are people that have to vote these morons in. That means that this is a widespread sickness. Right? This is just not something that's, a one-off here or there. Right? Or our communities wouldn't look like they do today. 78% single mothers, of the marriage rates are low. It's okay to be a hoe. Let me be a girl boss. Now men, they want to wear fingernail polish and they want to be girly and all this other things, right? When in society, it's not supposed to be like this. It's a natural proclivity of a man to want to. It's not that he's ruling over the woman. He's just that he feels that he can take care of her because he is more aware of the environment and the surrounding factors there is of danger than she is, because that's the way that it was written. Right? We was written to take care of everything up under us.
And you got to understand too, like this before you go on, like all this influence too. This is mostly being pushed by the West, y'all. If you look at other countries,
right,
you don't see all this being pushed, all right, because they value the family, they value the roles of the woman and the man, and they each have their own specific roles and everything, and that's respected. So you only see this being pushed really by the West. Go ahead, bro.
Con. All right, let me go ahead. Let me finish this. It's lucky, brother.
Disadvantage for women in men's sports. That's
a woman?
A woman said this. This is so crazy. I just sent it to you, Jamie. It's so kooky. You're like, come on. Look, I know you want to believe this, but if you're going to be on TV saying things, it has to make some kind of fucking sense.
Female bodies are just as strong, as fast and capable as male bodies. I want all girls to know that there are elected officials like me who would never underestimate your ability to beat a boy at their own sport. Because that's what the premise of this bill assumes, that female bodies are less than male bodies. For what reason, other than political gain, are we spending time and taxpayer dollars on a completely made-up issue? So female bodies are just as strong.
That's it.
All right, and that's just the clip right there I wanted to play you guys, right? Because this is what they're pushing, right? This is the nonsense that we're pushing. But the thing about it is that, as you see, that our community is so easily, influenced, right? That now you will try to push something that is totally insane, right? But the scriptures speak differently about this, right? But then, in our community, it's the strongest, if you notice, right? You probably have sisters even coming in here talking about, hey, well, I command dudes and I run this and I run this and I do all of this and I do all of that. All right. And you understand that the only way that this really truly happens is that men, they have to hold back. Right. The only way that, this even happens for things of this nature is that, men are holding back. Right. They don't have to listen to any opinions. Right. If a man were to be in his true nature, right, a man doesn't have to listen to any opinions at all. He can just, shut it down with pure violence and force. Now that might seem like a brute thing to do, but isn't that the way the Most High did it? Right, the Most High sent the Israelites. Hey man, if you didn't say something that the Most High didn't like, or you was doing something that the Most High didn't like, the Most High would kill you, shut you down, right, with violence. Now, I'm not saying that, that's something that, saying that's just something that happened, but that is the main reason right there why women cannot rule over men, because they just don't have the power to overcome a man with violence, because the Most High had made the man the most dominant creature on the earth.
Before you get too far out, I wanted to go back to what that lady was saying that heathen was saying on that podcast. Now, she stately said with a straight face that women's body is just as strong as men's body. And this is the ideology thinking of the West. All right, this is being pushed by the West. Who told them that their bodies were just as strong as men? that's an ideology, that is an opinion that they have created in themselves to make themselves believe that they are equal. Now, you put a bunch of women against the Eagles defensive lineman, and will they not get trampled down? You know what I'm saying? And for her to even claim that, and she probably believes it with everything that's in her, because again, that's what they have created in their mind. It's an illusion to push this feminism, so they can make themselves feel good and everything. But nothing is further from the truth. It's just a lie. So when you see stuff like that, just know that it's all coming from the West. It's this ideology, because these other countries, they don't push that kind of stuff. I guarantee you, North Korea, China, Japan, you won't see no stuff like that there. Definitely, you won't see that. You definitely won't see that in Iran or Afghanistan or Iraq. No, them women are completely covered up, and they fulfill their roles. Crazy, man.
It's sad that we see this. This is a topic that's very like, no matter where you look at, right? Because I'm gonna show a little like a Piers Morgan topic, and like even these heathens are dealing with the same situation, with their women, right? And then it's a shame that we should have to deal with this situation, with our women. Now, is it toxic masculinity to want to take care of your woman? No, it's not, right? Is it toxic masculinity to tell your woman, hey man, I don't want you going out outside the house with your cheeks out, right? Because why? Because you're going to have other men out there that we know that sin is reigning on the earth, so they're not going to be thinking righteously at your woman, right? And so it's going to become a problem. It's going to cause issues, right? So like, men have the proclivity to tell these things, right? And these rules that have been passed down, because they see what happens when the rules are taken away, like we see right now, right? You can't say that society has gotten better, right? Because we have slackened the rules on women. Right, you can't honestly say that. Marriages are upside down. Women are unhappy. Brothers are not trying to wife up women anymore, because they know 9 times out of 10 you're not getting a virgin. And so brothers not trying to get out here and work hard and do all of this and do all of that. And you're not getting you're not getting a viable a wife. To raise up smart and intelligent children to continue on to build up your civilization. Right, it's just not happening in our community. And then so for the natural rule for a man to be over a woman, it's not something that's bad when you know that we're trying to do good things. Like, rules are a good thing. You just can't just be out. Just imagine if sports or any kind of organized like the military, no rules. You had no formations. You had to do anything, right? The greatest formations that were that they still use today in war is Hannibal. Right, these are things that work in order to forward a goal. You have to have order. You have to have structure. Right, we have to have reality of you can't just be listening to that damn heathen up there. She's a city council member or whatever it was, a representative, saying that men and women, they have both of the same strength. There isn't a woman on this earth that could that could beat me or Brother Daniel. I just that's just not happening unless it's a seed of the giant and you damn 30 feet tall. You know what I'm saying, with rippling muscles or something. I mean, but like on the natural scale or probabilities, it's a very, very, very a super slim chance that'll ever happen. It's just not something that could happen, and this is why, right? Women have never been able to rule over anything because of the simple fact the Most High didn't make it that way. It's not it's not bad. It's not a bad thing. In any kind of way, it's not a bad thing, right? You should be wanting to chill and enjoy life and smell the roses and see the trees and be out in the park and enjoy yourself with life, right? You should want to be out there in the battlefield with the men. You should want to be out there, slaving hard, trying to build up civilizations with the men. For what? It's not even needed. Right, and that's the same, and that's the real thing. It's not even needed. Let's see what the scriptures say. Right, let's start at 1 Peter, and we're going to start at verse 3. Right, not Slakia. Right, we're going to start at verse 5. I just had that rolled down. Right, it says, for this manner, right, in the old time, the holy women. Now it says the holy women. Right, understand, brothers, right, because mine are the brotherhood here. Right, We're looking for holy women out there, right? Those are going to be the women that's going to be able to raise up your sons and the strong men that fear the Most High, right? So when you're going to be able to trust. It says, after this manner in the old time, the holy women also who trusted in God, right, adorned themselves, being in subjection to their own husbands, right? So they obey their own husbands, right? Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord. Now, today, if I would even say something, women ain't down with that. Say, I'm not calling him Lord.
You
But
get stones thrown at you.
God, right? But this is actually right here. Remember now, it said this is a holy woman who trusted in God. This is actually how women are supposed to carry themselves. But these days, they believe they're just on equal footing as you, right? They want a partner, not a husband. A partner and a husband is not the same thing, right? There's just a lot of wickedness. A lot of things that have been slanged to you with by these heathen, right? That put ideas in your head. It's the same thing that happened to Eve, right? The serpent, he was able to, slang an idea in Eve's head, and she went with it. Why? Because it sounds like, I guess that's the danger of it too, because like I understand the plight of women, right? You're right. You have a mind, right? You have a body, you have limbs, you have things that you believe that could be utilized, for something else, right? But at the same time, we have to look at the overall picture, right? The overall design of that body, right? And that body is designed for children, right? That body is designed for a man. Right, because if you strip away the cities and the bare bones of nature, right, a woman will not be able to survive on the land without a man. Every single thing, pretty much every single thing that of any consequence of today's inventions have been, invented by another man. Right. So it says, for after this manner in the old time, the holy women also who had trusted in God adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands, even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, right? Whose daughters are ye? As long as ye do well and are not afraid with any amazement. Meaning that all the daughters of Abraham are also the daughters of Sarah, right? Because of what? Sarah and Abraham had his son, right? Isaac, and Isaac had Jacob, right? So, right, it says, likewise, ye husbands, brothers, right? Ye dwell with them according to knowledge, right? You don't beat on women, you don't do any crazy stuff, right? When you're ruling over your, when you're ruling on your women, you're supposed to do it righteously, right? Giving honor unto the wife, right? You don't talk down to her, you don't try to, beat her up or do anything like that with words. You try to uplift your woman, right? Because that's going to be the one that's going to be, holding down the home, right? Holding it together, raising up the children. So she needs to continue to be, raised up mentally, so she can be that, strong foundation, right? To help you out, because you being the man, you're the foundation, you're the glue that holds everything together, right? So they're looking for you to strengthen. So it says, unto the weaker vessel, right? What? The scriptures tell women that they are not stronger than men. It says, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, right? Even though they're the weaker vessel, and it's being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered, right? And that's the beauty thing about us being together, right? Now, man, if we could get back to the symbiosis of a man and a woman being together, right? Because we're literally supposed to be together. Why? Because woman was taken out of man. Right. This is why we desire each other on such a biological deep level. Right. That's why you have a sense of loneliness, or you have a sense of yearning for a husband. It's because that's the way the Most High created it. Don't fight it.
The scriptures the scriptures, man, is so awesome. And with that being said, the scriptures also said that a loving and quiet woman is a gift from God. Now, just because a woman is quiet doesn't mean that she's weak. All right. I want you to make sure you clearly understand that. Just because a woman is a quiet, loving woman doesn't mean that she's weak. You can think better when you're quiet. You can think better when you're at a state of humbleness, because that's what really helps the man. That's what really helps encourage the man. Women were created to be that nourishment, not to be an out talker, not to be loud and obnoxious, not to be trying to be the boss, rule, have the last say, it's not about that. You know, when you read Proverbs 31 in full detail, you'll see, you know, the strength of a righteous woman. All right, and it's not to be underestimated. And this is why, like, you don't see a man, because, you know, we are inherently more dangerous than women. All right, and if we were, you know, in a match or something like that, it would be unfair, because the fact that, you know, men have a much stronger stature. All right, and this is why you don't see men just going around beating up on women, you know, or checking a woman as though they're checking a man. Why? Because it's that because we know that women are a weaker vessel, because we can easily destroy them. So it's like that mercy. It's like us, you know, the Most High can wipe us out if he wanted to. You know, he could wipe us all out if he truly wanted to. All right, but it is that long suffering that he has, for his people. And, you know, there's no difference from a woman, you know, and this is why women in a relationship is a delicate one, because, you know, when they have that Proverbs 31 spirit, when they have that loving and quiet spirit, I mean, that resonates. I mean, that just resonates, just miracles within a man. All right. To be able to come home and your wife is there and she got your back. She's not dogging you out. You ain't gotta be out in the fields chasing snakes on the rooftops or anything like that. You can find peace within your own home. Now that is a blessing. You know, a lot of the brothers I deal with, they don't have that, because again, this whole Western society has pushed this ideology into the women to think that, hey, I can talk to my man any way I want to. I can talk to a man well because I'm equal to him. You know, he can't tell me nothing. You know, I got my career. I'm making more money than he is. You know, he can leave. I don't need him. You see what I'm saying? And that thinking has really gotten our people into trouble.
So, you know, just to bring it back to the beginning, right? It says the nature for men to rule over women is it talks of masculinity, right? So from the very beginning, I'm going to show you why it is the nature of men to rule over women. This is God-ordained, right? This is ordained from God for us, for men, period, to be ruler over all the creatures that are on the earth, right? And we're going to start in verse 18. And it says, and the Lord God said, it is not good for man to be alone. I will make him and help meet for him. So do you think that the Lord God is going to make a helper, right? Okay, that's just like if you're going to a job site, right? My helper, right? I got my helper on my job site because I often have I often bring a helper because I need somebody to lift up the compressors, somebody to carry my ladder, somebody to go to the truck and get me water. Hey, I'm not joking, right? I don't mean to sound like that, but you know, I have a helper to help me do things while I'm working on the job, right? This is the same thing, right? And and a helper keeps me company. When I go to lunch, I got a helper to talk to. We can shoot the breeze or whatever the case may be. It's somebody to keep me company while I'm working and to help me out, right? And also you can apply that same situation right here, right? And the Lord God said, "It is not good for men to be alone. I will make him a helpmeet." Now, also about a helper, the reason why he's a helper, or reason why that person is a helper, because they're not as knowledgeable as me. They're not as strong as the game as me. All right, me being a senior tech, I know a whole lot more about these systems than they do, right? So that's why they're the helper, right? It's the same thing about Khan, right? It's the same thing about women, right? They're not going to be as strong as you. The Most High is not going to make a helper just as strong as the leader. That's going to cause a clash. Why would the Lord make two leaders? That doesn't even make sense. That's like it being two Most Highs. There's not two Most Highs. There's one Most High, and then there's the helper, Hamashiach. Right? Hamashiach's the helper. It's the same thing with us, right? It's the man is the leader, and then the woman is the helper, right? The Almighty, Hamashiach is not as strong as the Almighty, right? You can see that plainly through the scriptures when you see that he created woman in the first place, when Hamashiach made woman, right? Or, that later on, that causes him to die. And he asked the Most High, is there anything that we can do to prevent this? Now, do you think if Hamashiach, if he saw the future, right? If he saw, if he has the ability to see the future, you think he would have did that? No. Right? So this ought to tell you, you have the master, then you have the teacher, right? It's the same situation, right? The Most High, Hamashiach can't raise up against the Most High, right? He's not strong enough to do that, right? It's the same situation, right? And there's an order to every single thing, and I don't know where it's gone wrong in this, in this earth, that all of a sudden now we think that we have two heads. There is no two heads. There's one.
Well, I could tell you
That's
what's
the way
going
it has
wrong.
been from the beginning.
Yeah,
Right.
I could tell you where it's going wrong. Western society, bro. That's where it's going wrong.
Right. So I'm gonna keep on reading, and I want you to see why it's a proclivity, right, and why it's natural for a man to want to rule over women in the first place. And out of the ground, right, and out of the ground, the Lord formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature was the name thereof. Right. So the Most High gave Adam the power to name creatures. Whatever that name was, it stuck to him. Right. And Adam gave names to all cattle and all the fowl of the air and to every beast of the field. But for Adam, there was not found a helpmeet for him. Right. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. So the Most High did not make woman out of the dirt of the earth. She didn't even come from anything of her own. Right. She came from the man. And if you see this today, right. I guess when Brother Dan gets ready to bring up his point, I can go and I can show you, like, through genetics, men still create women today, right? It comes from the sperm, what gender the child will be. It doesn't come from the egg. It doesn't come from the woman at all. It comes from the sperm. It comes from the man, right? So still till this day, we still make women, right? So, like, this is why we have to be in symbiosis together, right? Man, we one can't make it by themselves, and then and the other can't make it by themselves. We have to come together as one, and then one has to know their damn role. One has to know their role, right? And then one has to play his role, right? So the scriptures goes on to read and says, and the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh thereof. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from the man, he made a woman, right? This is why men, you feel an attraction towards women, because women come from you, literally, right? The Lord has split us apart, right? He had took part of our, because at first we were whole. We were all the way whole until he decided to take some of us out and then make a woman, right? And he brought her into the man, right? So remember now, Adam then already named every damn thing else. The Lord God brought everything to Adam to rule over, right? All the beasts of the field, everything like that, including the woman, and the rib which the Lord God had taken from the man, made he a woman, and brought her unto Adam, right? And this is the last thing that Adam named. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh, and she shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man, right? Now the last part is important. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. You're not supposed to be out there being on baby mamas. No. People out there on your own saying you're gonna be a girl boss and try to rule over men, or doing anything like this, when the design of the Most High was for the woman to help the man. So it's natural for men to feel that way. When women try to look at me, oh, why do they feel this way? Oh, he's so toxic masculinity. He always wants to control stuff. He wants to rule over. That's the way the Most High made it. You're never going to get over that. It don't matter how many decades pass, thousands of years go by. Maybe if the Most High don't come back, right, it's going to still be the same, because that's built into the genetics. That's built into the genetics, because you literally come from us. Brother Dane.
Yeah, man, I got quite a bit here. Hey, so that last verse, all right, verse 24, and I want to expound on that a little more, because some people might read that and get a little confused. And when it says they shall become one flesh, it's not talking about equalism or equality with Eve being with Adam. Adam is still the stronger vessel. Dominion is still given unto Adam. That just means that they are on one accord. All right, everything that the man, because the man is the decision maker. So the woman is an automatic in agreement with that. All right. So they have to be on one. That's why when couple, whatever the father says when you was growing up, remember how your mother was like, well, if you want to do something, you got to ask your daddy. I don't mind, but you got to ask your daddy because he makes the final decision. You know, that mother is always on one accord with the father. All right. So that way the kids don't try to go to the mother and then get their way, you know, when the father said
right.
no.
That's right.
So also with that being said, if you look right before the Most High created the woman through Adam, you notice that everything was already created. Dominion was already given unto Adam. He had already named all the animals and everything, even Eve. All right, he named. So you know, look at the whole picture when you see this. All right, because when I'm dealing with women, one of the things I challenge them on is, okay, if you're saying you're equal, then who did the Most High give dominion to? Did he give dominion unto the man or unto the woman? The woman didn't even come on the scene until after the Most High created all his creatures. All right. So, you know, the Most High gave dominion to Adam. He gave everything. He named everything, and everything was already set. You know, the only thing Eve had a fortress when she came on the scene. She didn't have to do nothing. She didn't have to work for nothing. She didn't have to get out and build nothing. She didn't have to go out and name stuff. She didn't have to go out and create something to come out the ground. When Eve came on the scene, everything was already provided for her. This is why when a brother gets married to a woman, he needs to already have his stuff together. You know what I'm saying? I remember when I dated my first girlfriend, my girlfriend's dad, you know, my first lady, my lady's dad, hey, look, he was like, he wasn't having it. He says, hey, you need to have a job, you need to have a roof over your head, and you need to have a source of income before you date my daughter. I mean, that's just the way it is. I'm just making a point here, though, but, you know, relating to Genesis. When Eve came on the scene, everything was already created for her. So for a woman to all of a sudden say, hey, you know, I am now in charge. I am now the authority. All right. And Brother Aton brought up the fact that the man comes from the man has the ability to create a girl or a boy. Now, if you study biology and physics, all right, science, all right, you know, the women, they only have the XX chromosome and the man has the XY chromosome. All right. And again, when you look at biology and how the body works, only the XY can produce either a female or a male genotype sperm. An X chromosome cannot do that. And if anybody says that it can, you can't prove it, because it has been scientifically proven that only the XY chromosome has the ability to produce a male or a female within the woman. All right, the woman, it just has the eggs that gets fertilized, and then that gets processed and everything, and then it turns into a nourishment to carry the man's seed. All right. I mean, man, we serve a awesome Abba, how he worked things and how he created things. So when you look at the whole perspective of rulership, and you know, when we talk about the lesson, the nature for men to rule over women, is it toxic masculinity? Absolutely not. It's just the order of things. It's the way the Most High created this earth and man to rule.
John.
Right? It's not about stomping or making a woman feel like she's at the feet of a man. It's not about that. And again, like I said earlier, you know, if a woman is loving and she's the Proverbs 31, she's gonna be treated like a queen. She ain't gonna have nothing to worry about.
I got a couple of videos, well, just two of some some delusional stuff that I want you guys to see, like how they continue to push this madness on our people, right? And they, and our people, they'll pick up on it real quick and they start following this foolishness, right? And just a couple of here. Let me show this one, and I got another one, and then Brother Daniel has a real good video that he's going to bring out to pretty much, sum it up. You know what I mean? Yeah, let me see if I can get this thing play. All right.
So when I was born on September 26, 1988, my grandparents and great-grandparents back in India didn't find out for 2 weeks, which is a shame because, look how perfect I was. And it's not because the phone lines were down or because they weren't available. It's because there was a complication with my birth. And that complication was being assigned female at birth. You see, because my mom had been told that if she gave birth to a daughter, it wasn't worth phoning home about. After all, she'd already given birth to my older sister, and this time everyone had high hopes that she would do right and have a son.
Now, before we go on, right, this woman is butthurt. Now, in other cultures, matter of fact, in all cultures, the reason why it's celebrated to have a son is because the name of the family continues to live on, right? Because the genes are always like just like in the scriptures, it's through the seed of the father, right? So the genes continue to pass on. When you give your daughter away to another man, right, your genes are gone, right? Your genes are gone when you give her away for that to that husband, right? Because then his name takes over. Your name is no longer there in that situation. So if it's a father, like I have a son, but I'm saying if I had all daughters, I would probably keep trying with my wife until I gained a son, right? Because I want somebody to carry on my name.
But she didn't. She had me. And so there were no congratulations or Indian sweets sent our way. Just the reality that from the moment I came into this world, I was already a disappointment to so many people. It's as if they had a time machine and already knew the trajectory of my entire career and life and decided that I had less to offer. And it sucked. So why am I telling you this heavy story? After all, I'm supposed to be a funny person. I have the nerve to come out here and hit you right in the feels. How dare I? Well, I'm telling you this because although this is my lived experience,
I just wanted to play that part in the beginning just because I wanted to show you guys, like, they will try to take something in that they don't understand the full quality of what it is that they're downing. You're right, man, she says a little more other stuff, but I really don't really care about it. I want to show you guys one other video too before and then this is something that dang, I'm sorry, brother Dan, because I think that this was the one that we wanted to show, isn't it?
It's whenever you had, I think it was a panel of a group of people, I think.
Yeah, that's the one. Okay, Slovakia. Yeah, con. I got that one, and then I'm gonna share that one with the with our people, right? Because I want to show you how it transfers over to the mind of our people, right? This particular thinking that the heathens is pushing, right? This particular line of thinking that the heathens is pushing is now starting to infect our people. Now, this is a pretty famous show, right? Look at this. 1.1 million views, and this only happened 4 days ago, right? This only happened 4 days ago, but this 1.1 million views, right? So this is a lot of stuff that's going on because for some reason, right, women have lost their minds and they don't understand what it is, what the reality is of the situation. And then we got these little these are homosexual looking dudes like this guy in the middle right here. They'll simp for whatever the situation it is, and they'll make the situation worse. Because if you look at it, I mean, like, we even have it our own people. It's not like we can all stand in solidarity with one another and be like, you know what? No, this is not the way it is. Hey man, shut down these pornography sites, shut down these OnlyFans. Hey, stop dealing with women that are hoes, stop dealing with baby mamas, and this stuff will change. But you always have these dudes that'll they'll sneak around the back door, right? They'll be telling them that sweet nothings in their ear, and they'll tell them hey, it's okay that you got 1 or 2 babies, I'll take care of you, this, that, and the third, what I'm saying, just to try to have some sex with with the woman, instead of the woman being actually wise enough to understand that the value comes through saving yourself, right? Anything that's not out there open on the market, that's valuable. Something that's scarce, that's valuable, right? You know what I'm saying? But for some reason, right, that obvious fact has begun to elude humanity in these in these last days here, right?
You do this, men need to do that. What I'm talking about is, what duties do women have in society? What are the actual women's duties towards men? Everybody is raised from the time they're kids how we're supposed to treat women. We all know how to treat women. We never talk about how men are supposed to be treated. That's almost never discussed, especially by how women are supposed to treat men, what their duties in society are. This has been completely dispelled. Guys like Tate have risen because Christianity itself has become a feminized religion, especially the Protestant sects has become completely feminized. And it didn't used to punish masculinity at all. And now it does. And so where's the alternative? Where's the spiritual alternative? It's nowhere. And we need to get back to this fundamental question of what even is misogyny? Because I don't think that men kicking the crap out of each other, being brutes, insulting each other, hazing each other, even bullying each other is misogyny. Not only do I not think it's misogyny, I think it's perfectly healthy.
Yeah, but I don't think that's misogyny.
Well-adjusted.
Is that the argument?
But that is not misogyny.
Well, no. Hang on. How women see this is
misogyny is where you have a hatred or, whatever you want to phrase it, towards women. It's not about men treating.
What they're claiming leads to misogyny. So what I'm talking about is these are all masculine traits. There's nothing wrong with them, right? When you're talking about misogyny itself, I want to know what that even is. Is it just asserting yourself to women, telling women no, telling them no, that's bullshit?
No, I would say it's okay. Let me
telling
answer
them you're
you.
saying stupid things.
Andrew Tate says he's quite open about it. Women should stay at home. They shouldn't go out to work. They should do what he tells them. He's the king of the castle in his house. Blah 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 blah. That is misogyny, isn't it? I've got a daughter. I've got a 13-year-old daughter. I don't want her thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm not saying that I'm not being, because if I have a helpmate as a woman, I'm gonna need her to be doing stuff. So if we don't have small kids to raise, right? Like helping me run an HVAC business or such and such, right? But the thing that you see how they try to play it now. If misogyny is the hatred of women, right? And this other guy, whoever it is, this other dude they're talking about is telling women to stay in the house and I'm the king of the castle and he'll take care of it. How is that hating women? That seems like a pretty cushy life. Man, you get to chill, I'm, what I'm saying? You don't really do anything, but they try to frame it in this negative way, right? You have to be, man, it seems like society are really taking advantage of you guys' intelligence, right? Let me just continue this video real quick. It's almost over.
She can never leave the house. She's somebody's
It's not never leaving the house. Look, it is true that the world would be a better place if we didn't have it inverted and women did have a natural role at home and that was glorified and that there was government propaganda around the nuclear family and keeping women home. Why do you want to outsource the raising of children to strangers instead of your wife? That's a way better society. Why do you want your best and brightest women forced to go to a workplace instead of the best and brightest women staying at home raising their children? That's a way better system. It's always been a better system.
I guess we're talking freedom of choice.
That's not misogyny.
Women to do anything.
Shut up, clown. Look at that bald face back. Oh, sorry, man. You know what I'm saying? It's always the guys with the bald faces looking like, what I mean? Anyways, and I'm going to play this last. Oh, go ahead, Op.
I was going to say that, what's interesting, that look at the America, and especially back in the late 700s, it was nothing like that, like it is now. It was, women had their role, and I'm gonna tell you where this really started. If you really do your research, it started off with white women wanting to be equal, wanting to have a voice, wanting to be heard. That's all it started. It always starts with white women, and then all of a sudden it just flows on to our women. But white women are the ones who really push all this stuff. It's just like, and I'm gonna kind of jump ahead a little bit, just like this DEI thing. It was started for privileged white women. Had nothing to do with black women. It just, over the years, it just got a black face attached to it because we get blamed for everything. Everything that these white women start, we get the leftovers and we get blamed for it. So just when you do your research, look back the way America was, and it was the need for white women to start their own little independence.
It's madness. All right, I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna play this video right here, and then we're gonna kick it over back to Brother Dan because he has one that's gonna pretty much sum up the situation after we get done talking about this one. Right? It's just sad because this is how it it comes onto our people. Right? When you look up, boom, now here we are. Right? You know what I'm saying? That same kind of thinking. Now I just showed a few clips, right? And then you see how many views those clips got. Right. And our people, we're like, small part of the population, and it's nothing but heathens, and they run the media and so forth and so on. What are you going to see on there? Right. The majority of your stuff, you're going to be seeing, heathens on there, heathens controlling the flow of knowledge. All right. So let me play this. All right. This is
like, even if you look into the biblical term, like a woman was not allowed to be a past there. A woman has to be silent in the church. I think it's always been where a woman is supposed to be subordinate, and this is what's happening. These comments are just showing society's reaction to women.
Helpmate, like,
sorry,
helpmate in the Bible.
Yeah,
your man's helpmate.
I know, but that's the thing. Like, why is she this little helper? Like, she's just supposed to be in the background. Why can't she lead? Why can't she do that? I think
again, to my point,
she wasn't created to lead.
Facts, right? Absolutely, right? Why is that in your mind frame? Why do you think like that?
See, this is the issue I have, and again, this goes back to that ideological thinking. This came from white women, and then it just peered onto our. So I feel like it's always about I feel like why should we be in the background? How come we can't lead? Well, the Most High did not create you to lead. He created you to be a helpmate. He created you to be a nourishment. All right, the man was created to lead. Be happy with that. And see, in this right here, they sound like they might be from the UK, just from the British accent. But women tend to have a tendency to, again, it goes back to Eve, to rebel against the Most High, because this is rebellion in its highest form. When you start to question the authority of the Most High, it's like you have no consequences. You have no remorse, and these are the kind of women that, will get you in trouble. All right. Hey, look, just like Brother Eitan said, it's not about us being happy in a sense, but it's about obedience. All right. There is an order. All right. If these women follow that order, they will be well taken care of. They'll be in righteous order. But as long as they're trying to indulge their own ways and their own little laws and everything, they're set for destruction. And this is why we are in the situation we are in now.
That's right. I'm gonna play some more of this.
Okay. A woman can. The point is that is traditionally a masculine role, and this often comes down to what both each gender is attracted to. As I said before, a woman can have that position and want to roll and even want to be the breadwinner and so on and so forth, and she can find a guy who will be happy with that and will be happy to assume that position. I'm just saying that's going to be a more feminized man.
I mean, I don't agree with that personally.
That's just the reality of it, because you're going to get the complementary aspect. So if a man is very, very masculine in it.
Okay, so I'm not really interested in what else he was saying. All right. Salakia. Yeah. Hey, hold up, one more. I got one more, right? And this is with the heathens, right? I got one more on my show. This is a few minutes long. But I just want to show you, like, this is where people get it from. Right, these heathens right here, man. Look how happy and dodo birdie they look. Saying this stuff. Oh yeah, just
in Washington D.C. And today we're going to ask if men and women are just as necessary for children as they are for the corporate boardroom. California has recently passed a law that requires corporate boardrooms to have women on their boards. What do you think of that?
I think that's awesome. I'm from Los Angeles, so I'm familiar with that, and I think that's absolutely incredible. Women should be in charge of everything. So much more would get done, and it would get done in a much better way, in my opinion. So I think that's awesome. I love that.
One thing I wanted to say, right? Remember, he said that if you back up the video in the beginning, he said Congress had to pass a bill to allow women in office, which means that what? The man had to let you do it, right? It's not something that you can force. Or you know what I'm saying? It's not something that they can force in the way. It's natural for men to want to run things. It's natural for men to rule, right? And the delusion that they have in their mind is that, well, yes, that man should run everything, or they're saying yes, a woman should run everything. They don't even realize that every single position that you get, right? Every single job that you're at, right? Every single utility that you use and things of this nature is all, like I said before in the beginning of the lesson, has all been thought up and done by men, right? So it's not a situation of you can't say all of a sudden now that we've built every damn thing that now that we should run it all now that it's all been built up. Yeah, man, let us take over. Yeah, man, let us start running things, even though we ain't thought of a damn thing. Well, we ain't thought of one thing to help to try to, force society or build civilizations. We didn't think of nothing. All right. But you know what? Now that y'all done got it all built up, hey, man, let me take over and let me start running things. This is the exact way that Eve thought that was in the garden. Right. This is a perpetual mindset of most women. Right. Once you build it up, once you do all of this, now they want to come in. Now they want to take it over. Right. And see, that's the problem that men have, these days with the women, because they don't understand that, hey, it may not have been me personally that built it up, but it was my ilk that built it up. Right. You can't say that. You can't look at your ilk and be like, okay, you guys built it up. The way you guys contributed was very, very helpful, because y'all contributed the children, the help raising of the children, right, to keep them fed, to keep them healthy, right, so they could grow to be productive citizens, right, in order to build these civilizations, right. That is the role of the woman, right. Not to, after we build up the civilizations, to now all of a sudden you want to come into the workforce and start joining me and doing what I've been doing for since I got here, right. Because now what are we going, right? The marriages are low. Now what we're doing, we're having less children being born. Now you see what I'm saying? Like, this is a problem, right? If this was something that was natural, right, we wouldn't be having these deficits and these numbers as far as childbirth is concerned, right? The degradation of marriage, right? Because women don't know how to keep their legs closed anymore, because somebody done tricked them into thinking that sexual promiscuity is liberation, right? What? Man, you can't tell me, every woman that's listening, the two we have listening, right, can't say that, after they lost their virginity to a man, they didn't want to stick with him, right? They didn't want to stick with him, or right, they didn't have some affinity toward that man right there. Not one woman can say that, right? That's because if they actually listen to God, right, and understand the wisdom of keeping your legs closed until marriage, you would secure you a man. Your man would be secure, right? However the case may be, you'll be engaged, everything is good to go. You have a ring, boom, right? Once you have sex with that man, right, it's no situation of you feeling less, right? Because now the man can just get up and walk away, or make up some excuse, or he don't want to see you, or this. No, man, you live with the man now, right? Y'all married, y'all together. It ain't no it ain't no chopping and leaving. It ain't no hitting cheeks and getting out the door. It's none of that, right? Y'all together. Y'all together for the duration of the situation. But for some reason these days, we can see how society is running itself into the ground, that this is bad, right? This is absolutely terrible for the mind, soul, and body, for the Israelite woman, and and any other woman.
Well, I can show you a prime example as a result of a weakening because of women's wanting to be heard and rule. If you look at the U.S. Army, right? If you look at the U.S. Army from like 1798 to roughly about 1974, all right, we had a really strong army, a very strong army, because it was an army full of men. It wasn't until after Vietnam that they started letting women into support MOSs. Now, during Vietnam, the only woman they allowed in was to help as nurses. All right. They were enlisted, but they were only to be nurses. They were to take care of the men who were wounded and what have you. But shortly after Vietnam, I forgot what date exactly, one of the presidents at that time signed an executive order to allow women into the armed forces. All right. So at that time, there were no women. There were no women commanders. There were no women first sergeants. There was no women sergeant majors, because those first sergeants, sergeant majors, commanders, those are leading positions. Those are leadership positions. You have to lead whole squads and everything when you're a sergeant major or a commander. All right. But now fast forward today, you have all these women in these leadership positions, and guess what? The Army has weakened over time because of it. Why? Because a woman, leads with their emotion, not with their mental ability. You have to have a man to be able to lead, a general who has to be able to think strategically when trying to deflect the enemy. You can't have a woman doing that, because a woman does not have that ability that's built in her to be able to logically think strategies on how to divert the enemy. All right, it takes a man. Only a man can do that.
Because
And
we
so-
came up with the idea to do it in the first place.
Exactly. So now we're seeing. I'm telling you firsthand. You're seeing a much weaker army. The military, armed forces, air force, it has weakened over the years because now you have these women in these general leadership roles that's leading these men. They're leading a bunch of men, all right, by emotions, and stuff is falling apart. I've seen firsthand commander women's complete failure to lead squads and battalions and brigades. It's a disaster, y'all. They just don't make good commanders. I'm sorry, they don't make good commanders. I mean, it's nothing to apologize with, but they do not make good commanders because they don't have the ability to lead like that.
The scriptures
Right,
here
so
tell
when
us
they,
so.
yeah, so when they started letting women into the armed forces, now, and there was a time where they tried to get into the infantry, but that got shut down real quick. Y'all remember that movie G.I. Jane? Well, that was based. That was based off. It was just some heathen female. She was trying to become a special forces or Navy SEALs. That's what it was. And they beat the hell out of that woman so bad that they had to get a congressional, to leave her alone. But then she barely got out because, she already knew that, okay, as a woman, she ain't going into no Navy SEALs. All right. She was trying to set the stage for other women, but, other women wasn't having that, and until this day, they don't have no women in the Navy SEALs because it's not meant. That kind of work, that kind of line of duty is not meant for women. Because you're talking about strict training, battle forces, fatigue, and all that stuff. Women are not fit for that. You cannot put a woman out in a battlefield, all right, and expect them to fight and to fight a nation's war. That's why when you look at one more time. That's why when you look at Israel, you ain't gonna see one Israelite woman that was out in the battlefield fighting with the men.
Facts.
Yeah.
Quick point, just a short interruption of what Brother Daniel was saying. Hey, this is right, in my opinion, and all about it was done by a Jew, right? A fake, so-called, a fake Jew, right? They're one that pushed for the women to come into the workforce because what we already know what it is, man. It's been a reason the synagogue of Satan has been kicked out of every country that they've resided in, right? It's a reason, right? And they're coming over here doing the same damn thing. All right, Slock, go ahead, brother.
All right, so I got a short clip that I want to show. Let me pull it up here.
Then how do you explain?
Okay, so this is a man, the Muslim dude. The name of his site is called Middle Nation. You've probably seen him before, but at the beginning, he was being interviewed, and they asked him, "Do you believe that a man and woman are equal?" So he kind of breaks it down, and it goes into why. So I want you to listen to this. I'll pause it every now and then to kind of break down some things. So let's get it started here.
The infinite disparities between people's capacities. But then you're going to say that all women are equal with all men? When all men aren't equal with all men and all women aren't equal with all women, this is incoherent. What does it even mean? Every person, individual person, is tasked with what their God-given capacities are capable of, and no one is blamed or shamed or looked down upon for not being able to do what's beyond their capacity. And we're not judged on an equal basis, but we're judged according to our individual abilities, whether you're a man or a woman.
But Islam is quite patriarchal, isn't it? I mean, doesn't the Quran say that men have authority over women?
Well, don't they?
So I'm gonna stop right there. So we know that the Quran is just a knockoff of the scriptures. All right, we know that it comes from the scriptures. So the scriptures does show, as we showed you in the scriptures, that it is the right of a man to rule over a woman. All right, wanted to bring that out.
That was also biblical what he was saying, dealing with the that everything has a spirit, right? Somebody might have a spirit to sing. Somebody had a spirit to be a carpenter, so forth and so on, right? The Most High, he bestows upon us different gifts. So like a lot of things, the reason why we're bringing this out and we're having this guy say it, another reason why this particular one is because he's going off, just like Brother Daniel saying, like he's going off pretty much the knowledge that is in the Quran, right? The understanding that's in the Quran. But the Quran is a plagiarism off the Bible. So that's why we're even giving this thing any credence at all.
And I want you to listen to the points that he brings out, because he brings out some really good points and points that we've been talking about all this time. So,
I mean, men are the ones who have been oppressing you all this time, right? I mean, according to your own narrative, men have been running the show. The feminists are asking for their so-called rights from who exactly? Look, if you didn't have what you call patriarchy, then what you would have is a hell on earth for women. Because clearly, women do not have the power to coerce men.
So I want to bring out something he said right there. If it wasn't for this hierarchy, okay, when you go back to the European War, or the 300 European War, man, they were dragging women by their hair. They didn't care. You was a piece of meat. Yeah, you was a piece of meat. So if we didn't have these systems in place, if it wasn't for America, if we were still going back through, you would be straight up like you would be shown what it meant to be a property. All right, you wouldn't have no say so in anything, nothing. And that's the way it was and that's the way it was for thousands of years. Women had no say so for their bodies. You were a property unto men. Right. I mean, that was just, hey, I'm not making something up. I mean, that was just facts.
And they say that men are the ones that can't, they say that men are toxic and men are the ones that are like, men are the ones that form the systems, right, for women to be safe. Men are the ones that created that system. Now, if women are saying that they want to take over and do something, no men will follow any women that's taken over. We'll just go over there and then take over the women who think they're running things because you don't have the power. You're not strong enough to do it. Right, all the technology that we've had, everything that we've created, men have done it. It would take little or nothing for us to take over if we decided to. Right, if let's say, for example, a man, men decided, you know what, we want to let women rule everything. We put y'all all in the office, put y'all all everything, and then gave y'all the top seat. Right, and the next day the man said, you know what, man, we don't want women to rule anymore. That same day, y'all have to get up out of that office because there's nothing that you could do to do anything about it. Men to decide just to shut it down. Well, there's no amount of coercion or talking or anything that you could do with it because, like I said, the man, the Most High, He made the men the stronger vessel on the earth, more tactical, more our reflexes are faster, stronger, bigger lung capacity, brain, so forth and so on. We're just physically superior on every level, and I'm not saying that in like some kind of boastful situation, right? Because we're supposed to. I know y'all heard that lame, well, I'm gonna say it's lame, but they say with great power comes great responsibility, right? And I know you've heard that, thing you watch, Spider-Man or whatever the case may be. But that kind of stuff rings true because if you have this amount of power, you're supposed to take care of the children. You're supposed to take care of the women, make sure that you have things that are safe for them, and not overly abuse your power, right? And that's what a righteous man is. Right, we're not talking about men that are out here being wicked. We're talking about righteous men that are ruling in righteousness.
All right, let's check out the rest of this video.
To force men, to make men deal with them this way or that way. If you're out somewhere and a man starts to chat you up and you don't want to be chatted up, what do? You tell him, I have a boyfriend, I'm married, and he goes away. You have to conjure up an imaginary man to get him to back off, because 9 times out of 10, only a man can keep another man in check, because men are inherently more dangerous than women. Instead of patriarchy, replace that word with bodyguard. What makes more sense? For you to be my bodyguard or for me to be your bodyguard? Who do you think is more capable of protecting who? From who? If men didn't protect women, who would? Why, men would do whatever they wanted. And isn't your bodyguard responsible for you? Shouldn't you listen to him if he says, for example, don't go here, don't go there, or let's take this route instead of that route because it's safer? Isn't that authority? But he's doing it for you. Would you feel resentment about that authority? That's irrational. Look, you cannot dismiss the importance of physicality, human physicality. We're physical beings. Technology does not level the field the way you think it does. Let's say you have a business meeting, and you have the meeting in a coffee shop. And while you're there, during the meeting, it gets late. It gets very late. And then the meeting is over. Your phone battery is dead. The coffee shop is closed. The client has left. And you came by Uber. Now You're alone in the dark with no way home. If it's me, I'll just walk home. If it's you, you would have been getting nervous and worried throughout the entire meeting, the later it got, worrying about how you're going to get home. You're not going to be worried about being assaulted by a gang of women. And if you were walking in the street by yourself late at night and you see a man coming towards you, which one of the two of you is more likely to be afraid? Who's going to be scared of who? But see, you in the West have confused this. The feminists have confused this. The red pillars have confused this power imbalance with superiority. We don't do that because we don't attach that kind of value to it. It just is what it is. The power imbalance, that literal physical power imbalance, that imbalance in the ability to coerce and exert force and to be violent, is just a fact and a reality of the power imbalance between men and women. But your culture is in love with power. It's in love with force. It's in love with violence. So to you, whoever has the greater capacity for violence, whoever has the greater capacity for being dangerous, then that person is better. The one who can exert his will is better. Whoever has the power to force people to do something is better. And whoever is weaker is less. It's because you admire power so much, and you admire force, and you admire the ability to coerce, that you find yourself resenting that men have authority over women, or the idea, the concept of men having authority over women, because you think it's unfair. You think that women are being deprived. But remove that authority and see how deprived you'll be. Remove that authority and you will be in danger. You will be deprived of your safety. You'll be deprived of your security, your freedom, and maybe your life. In the Muslim world, we're not confused about this. And we don't think in terms of better or higher value on this basis, except in terms of piety and righteousness. And what each person's role is, and what their duties are in society, in the family, all naturally proceeds from their abilities and capacities. I'm not equal to a woman who is more pious than me, but I may have authority over her, because authority does not mean the same thing as superiority. It's just a function. It's just a function that doesn't carry any particular implications about it with regards to value. But your society assigns value to it, assigns a value to it that's inappropriate, that is not an obvious value to be assigned to it. You in the West, because you've largely become atheist, will make fun of Muslims, will make fun of our intelligence, because...
I want to pause it real quick right there, because it's, man, that is so profound, because he said over there in the Muslim society, he's saying the effect that men have authority over women is common sense. So they don't even look at it, right? They don't even see anything about it because it's common sense over there that it should be that way.
As you say, we believe in fairy tales. You say we believe in a God without evidence. We have no evidence to prove the existence of God, but we believe in him. Meanwhile, you invent a concept, this concept of equality, and treat it as sacred, and you believe in it religiously, with religious devotion, and you demand that everyone believes in it, and no one can dare doubt the reality and the holy truth of the concept of equality, even though all evidence that you are exposed to on a daily basis disproves that concept. So you'll make fun of us, and you'll look down on us, and you'll insult our intelligence for believing in something that you say we don't have any proof for. Meanwhile, you're believing in something for which all of the proof that exists disproves it. You see how incoherent your thinking processes are?
You know, it's interesting because when I was in Afghanistan, I worked with first-handedly with the locals, all right, the translators, between the Afghanis and the translators. And one of the biggest things they always ask me, and it's like they would always ask me, why is it that we value women's right in the West so much, you know? And I had to tell them, hey, this is something that's being pushed, you know, by the heathens. This is something that they've been pushing, because there in Afghanistan, the women they're happy, but but to them it's natural. It's like second nature, common sense, just like you said earlier, to know that hey, this is the way things are. These are the orders. You only have a few group of women in Afghanistan that's trying to become like the West because they hear this ideology and they become infatuated with it and they want to try to spread it, but that stuff gets shut down real quick because the men will remind them their place, and they learn quickly, and then they eventually forget about it. But over there in Afghan, man, they don't play. The women have an order. They're cool with that. All right,
the women are smarter.
They're smarter, and they're satisfied with the man being in authority and taking care of them. All right, and that's.
I wish you played the beginning of that video too. Like in the beginning of the video, he was saying that that the women over there, right, even though they're being subjected to their husbands, they have more businesses than the women over here. They have more independent businesses, meaning that they run more businesses there than they do.
You believe that men and women are
over here.
Yeah, we can play the beginning of it.
Yeah, con right, and that's strong right there, right? For because women think just because over here and how it is, oh man, you can't, men's not. No, man, over there, man, after they get done raising their kids and doing that stuff, man, these women are running businesses, helping out their husbands, bringing in money into the family so they can continue to get bigger and bigger. So when they pass on, they can give whatever they have to their children, right? It's a smart system. It's a system that if we had, right, we will be so much further than we are now, right? We probably wouldn't be in ghettos. We'll be all in, we'll probably be all middle class, moving up, in our own communities, trying to do our, but man, we just don't have the solidarity in that, man. I don't know. I don't even want to.
You know what makes Afghanis so strong? You know what makes Afghanis so strong? It's the belief in their faith. They believe it so hardly, like they would die. That's why America, like when Russia tried to invade Afghanistan. No other nation on this earth has ever taken over Afghanistan. They can't. It's impossible because of their strong faith ties to their Quran, right? Which is a plagiarism and knockoff of the scriptures. But they believe wholeheartedly because they are part of the descendants of Abraham, the Ishmael side.
Ishmaelites.
Yep. So and the Bible said that they would be a wild nation. So that's why no other nation has been able to conquer them, and they would die for their faith. You can go shoot them up, you can kill their leaders. Guess what? They're gonna have leaders to replace that leader. It's already planned. Right. So when the U.S. starts rejoicing, oh, they've killed the leader, you didn't kill nothing. You didn't do nothing. All you did was just killed a small arm or branch. There's like a million branches.
You know what's crazy too? That whole people, their stigma, right? If you as soon as you think of somebody over there, right, you automatically think of they're a Muslim.
Yep.
You automatically think of their Muslim and their God Allah. Man, when you think about our people, what do you think about? You don't think about nothing really.
Nope.
And see, that's a damn shame because we're really the only ones on the earth that have a God. Yep. But then when people refer to the Israelites or so-called black people, man, they don't think about nothing but baby mamas twerking, Pookie Ray Ray, and you know what I'm saying, all kinds of things, that we're good in sports. We don't have anything tied to the faith, right? Our people are devoid of that right now. It's crazy.
It's funny because we're the only ones that have a God, but yet we serve everybody else's God.
Damn.
That's crazy. Let me play this from the beginning.
Do you believe that men and women are equal?
Honestly, the myths, no, of course not. Who told you they are? You don't believe they are. If it's something that you have to constantly ask about, constantly struggle to achieve and enforce, then it isn't a natural state, is it? If it was an obvious accepted fact, then it goes without saying, no argument is necessary. No one ever says, do you believe that men and women both have arms and legs? No one ever says, do you believe that both men and women breathe oxygen? But you ask, are they equal? Or do I think that they're equal? Do I believe that they're equal? Well, if you believe that they're equal, and you believe that their equality was a natural, undeniable reality, then you would be insulting my intelligence to ask that question. Just as you would be insulting my intelligence if you ask me, Shahid, do you believe that both men and women have arms and legs and breathe air? But you're not actually asking me if men and women are equal. You're asking if I believe that they're equal, which means that you're asking me if I believe in your concept of equality. Well, I don't. It's an incoherent concept. Of course I don't believe that. Men and women are not equal. Men and men are not equal. Women and women are not equal. Individuals are not equal. How can collections of individuals be equal with collections of other individuals? That's illogical. It doesn't make any sense. Are you equal with your boss? If so, then why is he or she your boss instead of you? I'm not equal to another man who's stronger than me, who's smarter than me. I'm not equal to him in strength, and I'm not equal to him in intelligence. I'm not equal to a man who's richer than me in wealth. I'm not equal to a man who has a higher status in society than me.
This right here, right, is also displaying the logical mindset of men. Because if you talk to women, you know, even though they'll talk about just, you know, let's just say we're talking about looks. Everybody's a damn 10. Everybody's a 10. Right? You look good, girl, even though this girl could be a 240 shorty. Right? Hey, right? They're all 10s. But see, with the logical mindset of men, right, they know for a fact, hey man, there are men that are stronger than me. There are men that can do this better than me, right? Which is why when we play sports and the things that we do growing up, there has an order to it, right? It has an order to it. This is why.
See, that's the
There are things that
that's the difference. That's the difference between delusionalism and reality. You know, most women tend to suffer from delusionalism because in their mind, they convince themselves that hey, they're this, they're that, or I can do this. But when reality kicks in, it's hard for them to accept that, and that's why they fall hard because then they don't want to accept that. So,
God,
understand. No matter how
go ahead, play it because I think we keep stopping it and playing.
hard I try, and there's other people who can understand those same things effortlessly. There may be things that I cannot understand, and a woman is able to understand it instantly. Or maybe there's something that I can do that a woman cannot do. So how are you going to extrapolate from those examples or those scenarios that therefore, because Shahid can do something that a woman can't, or a woman can do something that Shahid can't, therefore that means that this gender is superior to that gender or vice versa? Now, you created a concept that is inconsistent, does not align with human reality or human complexity. And you invented that concept because your culture has historically been abominable towards women. The West has never known what to do about women. You went back and forth for centuries trying to decide if women were goddesses or witches. Tools of the devil. The cause of original sin. You used to wonder whether or not women even had souls. There's never been any people on the face of the earth so confused and twisted up about women as the West. And then you came up with a so-called solution, which was to create this even more confused concept of equality. And then you'll accuse the Muslim world, and in fact, the entire non-Western world, of being misogynistic and patriarchal, which is what you are. You would accuse the rest of the world for that because the rest of the world never talked about equality the way that you do. But the reason we didn't talk about equality was because we were never as confused as you are and have always historically been about being humans. And then you try to force us to try to explain our beliefs to you according to your framework. To try to explain to you, for example, how Islam actually upholds the equality of the sexes in terms of both men and women having equal innate value, but they have different roles in society and so on. There's no reason why we need to do this. Why should we try to make our clarity align with your confusion? Why is it even necessary? Why do you find it necessary to believe in the fantasy of equality when we all know that some people are better than others? We all know that some people are smarter than others. We all know that some people are more capable than others. And if that's the case, and it is the case, then subhanAllah, I hope that we're not all born equal, because that would be a severe indictment against anyone and everyone who fails in their life to become an astronaut, or to become a brain surgeon, or to become a brilliant writer or an artist. If we're all born equal, then how do you explain the infinite disparities between people's capacities? But then you're going to say that all women are equal with all men? when all men aren't equal with all men and all women aren't equal with all women, this is incoherent. What does it even mean? Every person, individual person, is tasked with what their God-given capacities are capable of, and no one is blamed or shamed or looked down upon for not being able to do what's beyond their capacity. And we're not judged on an equal basis, but we're judged according to our individual abilities, whether you're a man or a woman.
But Islam is quite patriarchal, isn't it? I mean, doesn't the Quran say that men have authority over women?
We can start right there because that's what we started
All
off
right.
at. So,
Yeah, I think I was thinking about this video, the other video you got down there.
oh, about the hold on a minute. Let me remember this one. Now, I did want to play this one about the beginning though. Now, this other video is dealing with. Hold on.
It's not.
Hold on. Let me get this because it keeps.
I'm not touching it at all. I'm not touching it.
Want to work, and most women want to have a career. That's PR.
Okay, I don't know why I keep
yeah.
going in and out with that. So this one is about the feminist. You know how people are saying that, oh, you know, women want to work, and then he goes on to say that.
Yeah, this is the one I wanted to bring out.
Yeah.
This is the one.
Okay.
But what about the fact that women want to work? I mean, they should have the right, don't you think? Most women want to have a career.
Well, I don't believe that's true. No, I don't believe that for a second. You're telling me what you've been told and what you've been told to believe, not what you actually believe and not what's actually the case. No, I don't believe for a second that most women want to work and most women want to have a career. That's PR. That's propaganda. I mean, you can't say honestly that you think that most women want to work and also say that women have equal intelligence as men, because if they have equal intelligence as men, what intelligent person would choose to work if they had a choice not to? I know a man wouldn't if given the choice. No, I know that most women don't want to work. I don't need to see the statistics. I know that most women don't want to work because I work. So I know what it's like. No, you can only convince a woman or anyone else that it's wonderful. It's just so fulfilling to dress up in business clothes and go to an office all day if they've never worked. You can maybe sell that message to young, inexperienced people, but anyone who has been in the workforce for any length of time will tell you it is not exactly living the dream. But you know who is living the dream? You know who really is living the dream? Married women in Dubai, married women in Saudi Arabia.
Facts.
And not just because they get to go on shopping sprees with their husbands, you know, gold credit cards. But because due to the fact that they have so much support from their family, so much support from their husbands, so much support from their fathers, so much support from what you would call patriarchy, you probably didn't know that women in the UAE and women in Saudi Arabia own a higher percentage of small and medium-sized businesses than women in America, by at least 10%. That's ownership. That's entrepreneurship, not employeeship. But of course,
now the reason why I wanted to stop it there, right? Because that is something powerful that he said. He said that the married women, they go on shopping trips and do this stuff because what? They have families.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a big family because you know what? They stay married and they stay together. They have that, you know. Hey, now, just imagine if we were way back in the 40s and the 50s, and we didn't have all these divorces and baby mamas, and we actually stayed together. And we had large families where we had all the families had good jobs, and we accumulated all this money. Guess what? The women, when you got married, you'll be marrying into a good family with brothers and sisters with plenty of money. But because y'all cannot keep your legs closed before marriage, y'all don't want nobody to rule over you, this, that, and the third, right? We have a whole bunch of broken families. A lot of niggas have started from nothing. You have nothing to start from. You don't have a big family. It's a broken family. You know, you have all this nonsense right here. Now, these women, they're actually obeying what God says, even though they're not the children of the Bible. They're actually obeying what God says, and look how they're prospering. Right.
Exactly. Exactly. And then, you know, and because of that, they are living off that you know, that glory and everything because of the man. So it pays to be obedient. If we would have obeyed the Most High, man, we'd be on top of the world right now. None of our children, none of our children would want for nothing because everybody would have land. Everybody would have their own, you know, resources, cattle, chicken, crops, all kinds of stuff. Man, we will be the producers of our own resources. We'll be producing our own resources. man, we have our own lumber companies, you know, and you look at these heathens today, but because and what's sad, man, is that these heathens have more family value than we do.
God.
Man, there's heathens.
Selfish.
There's heathens around here that got their whole family living on them, like on 90 to 300 acres. Got whole family members built like 6 houses. Got all their family members, man, living in one because they all helping one another. They all pitch in. They all help one another.
God.
And guess what? When their kids are born, they got something to pass down to their children. But what do we got? We got a bunch of broken homes and a bunch of baby mamas and pookies and ray-rays.
That's right. We don't have nothing. I mean, this is like proof that obeying God works. You know, and this works on heathens. Even being holy works on heathens.
That's crazy, y'all.
That's
that
crazy.
That right there is insane. That
right?
is insane.
Keep your legs closed until marriage. Get you a husband. Continue the family. Don't divorce the man. Continue to grow up. Build a family. Then you all of a sudden you start building a whole civilization. Right? It's this whole gigantic community of brothers and sisters that are getting along. Right? Stuff like this, man. Where do you think all these gangs come from, baby mamas? Crips and the Bloods, baby mamas. Right? All it says that what is it, 85% or 87% of the people that are in prison come from single mother homes. Right? Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
And when you look at these other countries, they've been doing this for years. They've been doing this for centuries. So Dubai is fairly new. You know what? They started building like back in the 40s. And, because they've been obedient to their faith. And guess what? Now, there's not a single poor person in Dubai unless, they bring these workers over from India as they use for slaves. But, rightly so, because guess what? They're not going to use their own people to work as slaves. They're going to bring these other folks over. These folks from India, they use them as slaves. I mean, think about it, y'all. You ever seen a homeless Arab in the streets of Dubai? Or I've never seen one. I've walked through the streets of Iraq before and Afghanistan. I've never met one poor homeless person, Afghani, in those countries.
Yeah, Afghani is serious. If you don't pay the insurance, you go to jail. Yeah.
Even when I was when I was in Kuwait, the only people you saw begging were people from India, or these other nations. You didn't see their people out there doing that. So they smart. Hey man, I'm telling you, man, those folks in Dubai, they smart because they know not to use their own people, but they'll go out and they'll get these Indian contracts and they'll use as slaves, man.
Man,
work the hell out of them.
Man.
Work the hell out of them, man. They live in. Yeah, look up the slaves of Dubai. Ain't nothing but Indian folks, man. They living in like little rooms, man. It's like 20 people to a room. And as soon as they took away their visas, man, they tricked them, made them build all these nice buildings and stuff. Man, I'm telling you, boy.
Sure. Man, y'all better wake up, man. Sisters, please wake up, right? It's really I mean, the men, true, right? The men are supposed to run the situation, right? But really, if you really look at it, the way our community is set forth, right? If y'all don't start teaching, because most of y'all have the children anyway. If y'all don't come to the knowledge of the truth and start teaching y'all daughters to keep y'all legs closed until marriage, Isaiah 4:1, it says 7 women gonna come to one man. But then if you read on down, it says what? That Most High gonna cleanse Israel with the spirit. I mean, the daughters of Israel with the spirit of burning and judgment. Yeah. So that's telling you, right, in not so certain terms, that there's going to be 7 to 1 men getting put to death. That's the difference. That's the difference of how much, and they want to say it's the men's fault, right? But it's not, though. Remember, even when we go to Jubilees and we see that the woman, if there's a woman that's a whore in the camp, what happens to the woman? They kill the woman. Nothing happens to the man. So it's because you guys have the power. All right, you guys have the power, and the power to y'all have to say no. Y'all got to start using that power to say no, and keeping your value up until you get married. And I'm not talking about the women, here that's already done your thing, because y'all need to repent. And if you got children, that's not getting them no man, and wait until you get married for him. That ain't got nothing to do with that. That means no more man for the rest of your life unless it's your baby daddy. And then that's how that works, right? But for the women that got a chance out there getting you a husband, you need to stay chaste until that time comes, right? That'll help bring them to society, right? Give brothers other things to concentrate on instead of concentrating on trying to, have sex with you. Especially they know you get married. Brothers will be more focused on other things. Oh, I know I can't marry. I can't have sex until I get married. If that becomes a normal staple upon stuff, you want to see brothers out here doing everything they can to try to have sex with women, because that's what it's all about now. All society is about having sex with folks. Yeah, man,
we so far behind the power curve, it don't make no sense, man.
Facts. You know what I mean?
That's right. No, most people don't want to work. Now, obviously, there are exceptions, and there are people who can, genuinely derive a lot of satisfaction from their work. But we all know that they could find infinite other ways to achieve that and better than that level of satisfaction if they weren't wage slaves and had control of their time. Should women have the right to work? You understand what incredibly deceptive language that is? In your society, do they have the right not to work? That's a better question. I mean, look at how they manipulate language around this issue. Instead of just saying you have to work, they say that you have a career or you have a job, as if it's something that you've gained, as if it's something, something that you have, rather than talking about all the things that you lose by having that, all of the things that you have to let go in order to keep hold of that job. They say you have a career, but what they mean is your employer has you. And that's where you spend most of your time. That's where you spend, most of your waking hours, 8, 9, 10 hours a day, plus however long it takes you to commute. So maybe up to around half of a 24-hour day. You're either going to work, at work, or coming home from work. And then you get, if you're lucky, maybe 4 to 5 hours a day off, 4 to 5 hours a day left of free time. Look at that phrase, free time. Because, yes, in your free, democratic, liberated, independent country, most citizens only get about 4 to 5 hours a day of freedom. Because the rest of the time, you're at work. And work is extremely not democratic, not free, and you have no independence. You do what you're told, you wear what you're told, you eat when they let you. Your time.
And what the sad thing about this is that every single man knows this. Every man that works, we know this already. This is common knowledge to every single man that works, right? We know that we're giving up a lot to do this, but then women, they'll rather this. They have no idea about this. They think it's a trophy or something that is good. Like, I work to retire. I don't work because I like working, right? I work because I want to work so I can get rid, so I can retire, so I can build up enough funds, right? So I can enjoy the earth that the Most High sit me on in old age. Enjoy the earth and my kids, right? That's not I'm not out here, sure me having to do all these repairs or use my brain to think of to think up some kind of repair for some customer because his system is over 200 grand and then he needs a way to fix it, and then now they're depending on me and now I got a pressure on my back to fix it. You see what I'm saying? Like, a lot of these things men go through on a day-to-day basis. It's not something that we want to go through. Like, if we go to war, right? Men don't want to go to war, but they have to, right? Like when Israel, when we traveled across, and then with the Israel, man, we had to fight giants to beat them. Remember, man, we had spies looking at the giants like, Lord, how are we going to beat these guys? They didn't want to fight, but you have to. That's just the staple of being a man. The women, they weren't out there on the battlefield beating up the giants. They was home, chilling, safe because they were smart. You didn't have any women trying to fight, talk about us. I want to be on the battlefield and be just like a man. Go out there and face the dangers of the world just like a man. Because the women were smarter back then. Right? They understood that their life, they're just to chill, smell the roses, enjoy the day, and raise kids, run around, have
bathe
fun.
in your femininity.
Facts.
Bathe in your femininity. Now you got women trying to rouse the men and getting beat down. Come on now.
You even have to ask permission to use the restroom. So most of your waking hours are actually spent in a thoroughly totalitarian environment, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, and you get maybe 4 to 5 hours a day of freedom. And you're telling me that women want that? No, the system wants that for women. and it has made it largely unavoidable because the cost of living is too high, or anyway, the cost of supporting the lifestyle and maintaining the lifestyle that your society teaches you that you must have if you are to be regarded as a worthwhile and successful human being. They made it necessary for women to work, and human beings have a great capacity to convince themselves that they are actually in favor of things that have been imposed upon them. So they tell themselves that they actually want the thing that they have no choice but to accept. Then, of course, on top of that, you have all this propaganda about how wonderful and how fulfilling it is to sell your time and your labor to an employer, to rent yourself out to your employer. And you have people, excuse me, but like yourself, spreading the propaganda. It's no different really from, how you have women in human trafficking networks, women who procure women for the traffickers. It's basically the same thing. It's just different in the severity of the consequences. But both types of people are lying and making false promises about the servitude and drudgery that they are actually dragging women into on the basis of promises of how wonderful it's going to be and how much they deserve all of the great things that are going to come to you if you listen to me and do what I said, when actually you're just going to become a wage slave. Just like in a human trafficking thing, you're going to become an actual slave. And it's really interesting to me because I just saw a video by a Muslim sister where she was comparing the ticket sales for the Barbie movie with the ticket sales for the Oppenheimer movie, and what that indicates. It's not so much a story as a cinematic representation of a brain scan of a radical feminist, the delusional way that they see the world. Whereas Oppenheimer is about a physicist, the splitting of the atom and the creation of the atom bomb. Women aren't going to see that one. The sales for Barbie are eclipsing the sales for Oppenheimer. So that means women aren't going to see Oppenheimer, but women are going to see Barbie. Men aren't going to see Barbie. So women would rather watch a movie, spend money to watch a movie, telling them that they can be and do anything. They're more interested in being told how much they can achieve than they are interested in achieving it. You can't even get them to watch a movie about physics. How are you going to get them to study it? They'd rather watch Barbie. Obviously, that's a huge generalization. What it shows is the appeal of the propaganda. The appeal of the propaganda has far more appeal than what the propaganda is promising. The propaganda is promising that you can do and be anything. But women aren't as much interested in doing and being anything as they are interested in being told that they can. And that's not really saying anything. It's the same for everybody. I mean, if you could actually remove from the workforce everyone who does not genuinely find fulfillment and satisfaction from their job, you would have extremely few workers left of either sex. Men find fulfillment usually not from the work itself. Most of the time it's not from the work itself, but it's from the fact that they are successfully providing for their families. So they sell their souls to the company store, as the old song says.
Facts. That's big
for the
facts.
sake of their loved ones. And they find some level of gratification from that, and it gives them a sense of purpose, even doing the most, mundane, difficult, and tedious work. And there's honor in that because it involves a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice that you do for your family. But no, most women don't want to work because of course they don't. Most people don't want to work. So, think it through. There are exceptions, but exceptions notwithstanding, most people don't want to work, but you have to be propagandized into it. This is propaganda. It's just like when Edward Bernays, the father of modern PR, got women to start smoking cigarettes for his customer, for his client, by connecting the smoking of cigarettes with women's lib. Just as that was unhealthy for women, this is unhealthy for women. Just as that was for the sake of someone else's profits, so is this.
Yeah.
It's just propaganda. Look, women have always worked, including Muslim women. They either did it because of necessity or they did it because they wanted to. And that's fine. But they never did it because they were fed constant propaganda that they must work in order to be whole and fulfilled human beings. They never worked because work was deceitfully portrayed as how you advance some noble cause of gender equality. They never worked because the society told them that if they didn't, they were useless. And they're not being told that. That propaganda isn't being spread by anyone except by the profiteers of their labor. So of course they will tell them that. They want the market to have vastly more workers than there are jobs, obviously. That diminishes workers' leverage and increases employers' leverage. It's probably the only reason that they're trying to adultify children now. You know, these days how they're sort of wanting to like lower the age of consent and so on, so that they can eventually get rid of child labor laws. I mean, they want to push retirement age back as far as possible. So they probably want to eventually lower the legal working age as well at some point. I mean, look at Joe Biden. The man should be in a care home. But they want as many people in the workforce as possible for as long as possible. But don't at least tell yourself that this is good for you and you want it, just because it's what business wants for you. When women go to the workplace, they're not breaking down barriers. They are erecting barriers around themselves. And men know that because we've been in those barriers all our lives. We know what it's like to be in the workplace. We know that all of this propaganda is propaganda. It's not a wonderful thing to go out into the workforce. Women have, the domestic life of women traditionally has been a socialist utopia. Why would you leave that? Most people don't want to work. That's a fact.
You know, in you know, Dubai, and y'all remember that one lady, it was some old black woman that she was yelling at the cops or something like that, and she got jailed in Dubai because she thought that she can take them Western ideas and take it to Dubai.
Oh yeah, I
she was
remember
wrong.
that.
She was wrong about that. Let me pull that up right quick. She was wrong about that, and that goes to show you, you know, how strict they are when it comes to their laws. You know, you're not going to come in there and just act a donkey like you're going to bring your Western ways there and think you're going to get away with it.
Man, just imagine going on with green hair. You look like a clown, man. Come on, bro. What's going on here, man? Come on, Israel. We can't hear it. You got to turn the volume up. I can't hear nothing.
Oh, we can't hear nothing?
No, I can't hear nothing.
Oh, wow.
Hey, Israel.
Man.
Hey, Israel. Can y'all hear something? I was just hearing silence. I was like, man, what's going on? Hey, Israel, type of one to,
Hold on for
type
a minute.
of two if y'all can't hear it. A one if you can, a two if y'all can't.
Hold on, I can do better. Let me copy the link right, and then I'll put it in the. Yeah, it's loud.
Yeah, two. They can't hear it, man. Con.
They can't. Okay.
Nah,
Okay,
man.
that.
You can send me the link if you want to. I could pull it up on this side and show it.
Nope. Second. But yeah, man. Yeah. Oh, you know, I want to say it, but I don't want to say it, man. But then she want to go in there and act like a nigga, act like a ninja. Going in there, she thinking that she gonna be black and she gonna try to take it black in Dubai. She learned real quick, didn't she?
Yeah, con. Hey, but the thing about it is, like, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, let's just keep it 100. That's the way the Most High is going to have it. Even worse, right? You're not going to be able to be out here like that. Remember, it said the holy woman, right? That was that did the will of the Lord was Sarah, and she called her husband Lord. That's the kind of obedience that the Lord is going to be looking like. I hate to say it that way. Well, not really. I don't hate to say it. I just, I can't wait till the things get back to normal, right? We have peace in the home. Everybody's cool. We chilling. You know what I mean? No more of this madness. Big families. Big feast. Just have a ball, man, out here, man. Just no wickedness.
Yeah, exactly, man. Here, I'm about to pull it up right now. Yeah, man, that stuff was crazy. Can you hear it now? Hold on, let me show you something.
Year-old daughter ultimately yelled back at the rental.
Can you hear that now?
Yeah, got it.
Okay, you should be able to see it too. So
Baxter says her 29-year-old daughter ultimately yelled back at the rental car agent. She says resulting in her being charged for screaming there in Dubai.
And so she is in jail for one reason and one reason alone. She raised her voice In that country, a female is not even allowed to raise her voice.
She just doesn't present herself as the type of woman that was going over there for legitimate business reasons. Not saying that she didn't, but from what I've seen from her social media, that's not what I get from her. And so I do get a loudmouth, unruly woman. And for her now to be stuck over there in jail, I just want to know what her weight is going to be when she gets back, because it looks like she's going to need to open her mouth to get out of there. And when she comes home, she's going to be full of shit.
That was a good one, boy.
Man.
Oh, man. Mm-hmm.
Man.
Oh, man. Dang.
Well,
but that it that's why they don't no crime, barely no crime. You look up the crime rate of Dubai, you're probably not gonna hardly see anything over there. They don't got prisons like we do. They use other nations for slaves, like they should, as they should. They use them Indian folks over there. Got them jokers slave laboring, boy, because they smart enough not to use their own people. For slave labor. Because they use the same scripture we use. You can't make your own people slaves. So they don't make other Arabs build that stuff or work. What they do is they put other Arabs like over them, in manager positions, but they won't have them doing that free labor stuff or that the really cheap labor stuff.
All right,
bring it on.
All right, brothers, man. I'm gonna just leave this right here.
Yelled back at the room.
Oh, you good? I don't have any other scriptures to bring up after this, right? This is gonna be the last one I'm gonna leave y'all with. For this is mainly for the brothers and the sisters. Well, just mainly for the brothers, but sisters, just beware of this kind of behavior, right? And so, right, with scriptures like this, we can start to actually, know what to look for, especially you brothers out there, and start to repair our community, right? And sisters, you're gonna know what not to do, right? It says, "My son, right, keep my words and lay up my commandments with thee. Keep my commandments and live," right? So keeping of the commandments, it grants life, even in the afterworld. And it says, "And my law as the apple of thine eye, bind them upon thy fingers, write them upon the table of thine heart. Say unto wisdom, thou art my sister, and call understanding thy kinswoman." Right? So they're like wise unto you, right? They're binded to you, right? Wisdom and understanding. You're going to need that. That they may keep thee from the strange woman, all right? From the stranger which flattereth with her words. For at the window of my house I looked through my casement, and behold, amongst the simple ones I discerned among the youths a young man void of understanding, right? And that's plenty of us, right? Plenty of us wicked brothers, they're void of understanding. You might be in the woman's DMs, or you might be over telling that, hey girl, what's going on? And you making all kinds of illicit advances toward a woman, like whatever the case may be, or it could be women making illicit advances towards you, right? But the same one, this guy right here is a void of understanding, right? So he's void of understanding, passing through the streets near her corner, right? Where he went the way to her house in the twilight, in the evening, in the black and dark night. And behold, there met a woman with the attire of a harlot and substile of heart. So what does that mean, right? She's slick, right? Substile means cunning, right? A woman is cunning of heart. Now we got plenty of women out here that are, very cunning with brothers, right? They might, you might think it's good. They might, tell you this, that, and the third, and then you get to marrying them, and then a year or two later they get a divorce and they take half your stuff, right? I'm serious, man. This stuff is wild, right? So you gotta be, you gotta be circumspect out here, right? So this is what you need to look for, brothers, right? Behold, there met him a woman with the attire of a harlot. So if you got these women out here with the attire of a harlot, and we know what they look like, they on Instagram, right? Posting them butt shots, right? They got the attire of a harlot, right? They out there on the street, they wearing skimpy clothes, they don't got dresses on, they got the cleavage out, they got the cheeks out, they got the legs all out, right? They got everything with the attire of a harlot, substile of heart, right? They slick with it. She loud, oh, that's sisters right there, and stubborn, oh, that's more sisters, loud and stubborn, right? Loud and stubborn, talking back, making all kind of, stubborn, don't want to obey you, right? Her feet abide not in her house. She always want to go out to the club, right? Always want to, just be out there, brothers. Hey, pay attention now. The scriptures are real. Now she is without, meaning she ain't got none. She broke, right? That's why they can't afford these nice dinners and all this other stuff to themselves. Most of these women, they try talking about they want a 6-figure dude, this, that, and the third. Man, they sleeping on a blow up mattress. All right, it's not the same. Right. So now she is without. Now she's in the streets and lieth in wait at every corner. So she called him and kissed him, and with the impudent face said unto him, I have peace offerings with me. This day I have paid my vows. Therefore came I to meet thee diligently to seek thy face, and I have found thee. I have decked my bed with coverings of tapestry and carved works with fine linen of Egypt. I have perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let us take our fill of love into the morning. Let us solace ourselves with loves, right? So, that's what we do now, right? Look at it, man. Hey, man, you take a girl out on a fun date and this, that, and the third. Next thing you know, right? Hey, that's all it is, right? Hey, you take her out to the Ruth Chris or whatever the case may be these days, and next thing you know, right, she giving up the cheeks. It's y'all up in there. Hey, she got perfume on, right? The dressed like a harlot, got the legs out, everything. Hey, man, this is not a woman of God right here. Brothers, you shouldn't be going after these women, right? Straight up, you should not be going after these women. But look what happens. Come, let us take our fill of love into the morning. Let us solace ourselves with loves, right? For the good man is not home. He has gone on a long journey. Damn, this woman is an adulterer on top of it, right? So how many brothers out here got cheated on? So or they women left them for some other dude, right? You don't know what's going on. Here it is right here. The good man is not home. He's gone on a long journey. He out working. He might be gone on a he might be a military man gone. Right. And we hear that story all too often. I know Brother Dane could have probably hundreds of those stories. And it says, he had taken a bag of money with him, and we will come home at the day appointed. With her much fair speech has caused him to yield. With the flattering of her lips, she forced him. Right. Now, it's not she forced him. I don't really think too many women these days are doing too much forcing really like that. But but they are flattering with the lips, especially if they get these dudes that have good jobs, right? So he goeth after her straight away as an ox, right? He goeth after her straight away as an ox goeth to the slaughter, or as a fool to the correction of the stocks. So what does this mean right here, right? You got to be careful with these women, right, man? You don't know if you're messing with a married woman, right? This is why the scriptures just tell you to look for virtue in women, right? You don't want to look for some promiscuous woman, no woman with, dressed as a harlot. Or just like the scriptures up, so what does it say? She loud and stubborn. That's a pure indication of some woman you do not need to get with. If she don't know how to listen to you and she loud, always running her mouth, and she's stubborn, no, brother. You are setting yourself up for heartache and pain, a lifetime of misery. Best believe it, right? It says, till a dart strike through his liver. Oh, hold on, man. We got to start this over 22. It said, he goeth after her straight away. So, like, that's you brothers that's out there going after the woman. You shouldn't be going after her. What are you? You like an ox going to the slaughter, or the fool to the correction of the stocks, right? Till a dart strike through his liver, as a bird hasten to a snare, and knoweth not that it is for his life. Man, your life is on the line messing with these harlots out here. Y'all don't even understand that. Hearken unto me now, therefore, O ye children, and attend to the words of my mouth. Let not thine heart decline to her ways, go not astray in her paths, for she has cast down many wounded, yea, many strong men have been slain by her. Her house is the way to hell, going down to the chambers of death. Right? So she has a man. And that's even worse. So you brothers, you really have to be circumspect out here with who you choose as a woman, right? If the man, I don't want to hear brothers out here trying to be like these rap songs and I'm after your woman and all this other madness, right? Because that is absolute wickedness. You're going after that. What does the scripture say? You're going down to death. And we know that death is not life. What are the chambers of death? The chambers of death is hell. The chambers of death are what? The lake of fire, where you don't return from. And that's it. I just want to leave you brothers with that. Israel. Brother Daniel. I think Brother Daniel might have.
Okay, I just got back.
Okay, Con. All right. And so I just wanted to leave you that.
No, that's all I got. I think we got set enough for today.
All right.
What else, Sherelle? Well, with that being said, we're gonna bid you a hearty Shabbat Shalom.
That's right. Stay strong, Israel. Stay strong.